It was a freezing winter night in the city, the kind of night where the cold cuts through coats and scarves like knives, where the streets are quiet except for the occasional car passing with its headlights glowing against the fog. And there, at a lonely bus stop, sat a young nurse, her white uniform peeking out from beneath an oversized cardigan that had seen better days. Her hands tucked into her sleeves, shivering as she stared at the empty road where no bus seemed to come. Her name was Ilara, a woman who had spent the last 12 hours on her feet tending to patients in the underfunded hospital at the edge of town, cleaning wounds, giving injections, listening to cries and complaints, and offering a smile even when her own heart was heavy. She had no family waiting at home, no one to greet her with warmth. And as the clock ticked past midnight, she was only thinking of a small rented room where she would crawl into bed exhausted before doing it all over again tomorrow. But fate, unpredictable and often strange, had a different plan, and it came in the form of a sleek black car that pulled up slowly to the curb, its windows tinted, its presence too elegant for this neighborhood. The door opened, and out stepped a man in a dark tailored coat, his shoes polished, his face sharp, handsome, but with eyes that held something colder than the night. His name was Adrian Kane, the city's most talked about CEO, the kind of man whose empire stretched across industries, whose wealth was splashed across newspapers, but also a man whose reputation was marked by rumors of arrogance, heartlessness, and a complete lack of interest in anyone beneath his level. And yet, as his eyes fell upon Ilara sitting there trembling, something inside him hesitated, something stirred. He walked closer, his breath visible in the frosty air, and in a deep, commanding voice he said, "Come with me." Ilara blinked, unsure if he was speaking to her, clutching her bag tighter, suspicion and fear crawling up her spine. She'd heard stories of men like him, rich strangers who thought money gave them power over everything. But something in his tone was not quite cruel. It was cold. Yes, but there was an urgency beneath it, almost as if he couldn't let her stay there another second. "I don't even know you," she whispered, her voice cracking in the air. Adrian studied her, his jaw tightening, and for a moment he almost looked frustrated with himself before saying, "You'll freeze to death here." "I won't let that happen." His words shocked her because why would a man like him care about a nurse stranded at a bus stop? But before she could respond, a gust of wind swept through, making her cough, and in that moment his hand reached out, not forceful, not demanding, but steady, as if offering her a choice. Ilara hesitated, her instincts battling between fear and an odd sense of safety radiating from his presence. Finally, she allowed him to help her stand, and he guided her to the warmth of his car. Inside, the leather smelled rich, the heat hummed gently, and she could finally feel her frozen fingers again. Silence filled the space until Adrian finally spoke, his eyes never leaving the road as he drove. "What kind of world lets someone like you sit out there waiting, ignored, after saving lives all day?" His voice was low, almost bitter. Ilara frowned, confused by his knowledge. "How do you know what I do?" she asked. Adrian smirked slightly, but it wasn't with pride. "Your badge. You didn't hide it." She quickly looked down and realized her nurse's ID was still clipped to her cardigan. Embarrassed, she muttered, "I didn't ask for your help. I could have managed." Adrian glanced at her, his gaze sharp yet unreadable. "You call that managing?" he said, nodding at her trembling hands. She had no reply. The ride continued in silence until he pulled into a grand estate, his home, a mansion lit like a castle against the darkness. Ilara's eyes widened, her heart racing. "Why am I here?" she whispered. Adrian turned off the engine, looked at her for a long, almost piercing moment, and then said, "Because something tells me you don't belong in the shadows. You don't even see your own worth, but I do. And maybe I needed to see someone like you tonight." His confession left her stunned, and before she could argue, he stepped out and opened her door, extending his hand once again. And though every instinct told her to run, to retreat back into the safety of her small and familiar world, something stronger inside whispered that stepping forward into this unknown might change her life forever. Viewers, if you feel the tension rising, if you want to know what happens when two completely different worlds collide, the world of wealth and cold ambition with the world of quiet sacrifice and hidden strength, stay with us. And make sure to subscribe to this channel, because stories like this only get deeper, more surprising, and more powerful, and you don't want to miss what comes next.